Hello, class. In the first lesson of Algebra 2 review, what we're going to do is review solving linear equations. Let's look at the 10 examples that we have here. We'll begin with number 1. And what we're going to do in order to solve a linear equation is that we basically want this idea that we want, again, our equation here to separate it into two sides, the left side and the right side. And what we want to do is have our variables on the left side, so variables on the left, and our numbers are constants on the right side. So constants on the right, variables on the left, constants on the right. So what that means here, that if I get these variables here and keep them on the left side of this equal sign, keep them on the left side of this equal sign, then on the left side of this equal sign, then, and our numbers are constants, so like these numbers here, and keep those numbers on the right side of our equal sign, then we're going to be able to simplify each side of the equation and then solve for our variable. So right here, let me just rewrite and move some things around, and let me write 9x minus 7x on the left side of this equal sign. And they're going to say the same signs because they're not moved. And I'm going to move these two numbers to the other side. Okay, so moving those two things to the other side, I'm going to end up with negative 20. Since the negative 20 isn't being moved, that's going to be brought down, stays negative 20. And the positive 1 becomes negative 1, and the negative 5 becomes positive 5. So by doing this, having my variables on the left side and simply moving my constants to the opposite side, these two constants to the opposite side, I'm going to end up with a negative 1 and a positive 5. Now what I can do from here is simply combine like terms. So if I combine the left side, 9 minus 7, that's 2x, that's going to equal, and I combine the right side, negative 20 minus 1 plus 5, that's negative 16. I end up that 2x equals negative 16. And what I can do from here is simply divide by this 2 right here particularly, get this negative 16 and divide it by these two x's, and I get my value for x. So I get that x equals negative 8. So there is your solution. X equals negative 8. So the idea again is to simply follow this format. Basically put letters on the left, numbers on the right. Now, if we have parentheses, before I can do that and move my letters to the left and my variables on the left side and my constants on the right, I need to distribute. So here, I need to multiply the parentheses, the two values in the parentheses, by this negative 5. So I'm going to bring down the 4m, distribute that 5, so I end up with negative 15m, negative 50, that equals to 126. And now, just so we can visually see, this is my equal sign. I want my variables let me do it in green. I want my variables to be on the left side, so I want these two variables to stay on the left side. So they're going to stay positive 4 and negative 15, my equal sign. And I want my constants, which are these two, let me underline them and let me box them in instead, these two, to be on the right side of that equal sign. Well, 126 is already on the right side, so that's simply, in other words, just brought down. But this 50 needs to be moved to the right side. So as a result, by moving it to the opposite side, it becomes the opposite sign. So negative 50 becomes positive 50. And now my two sides, again, here's the equal sign. I have my left side and my right side. Now I can simplify. On the left, 4 minus 15, that is negative 9. On the right, 126 plus 50, that's 176. Okay. Oh, let me make a correction here. Sorry, I didn't my math incorrectly here. That should be negative 11. 4 minus 15 is negative 11, not 9. So negative 11. This one is 176, so we're good there. And all I'm going to do now is divide. So this 176, that's divided by, let me do it in purple. That's going to be divided by this negative 11. So the value of m equals to negative 16. 176 divided by negative 11 is negative 16. So there's your solution. Let's move on to our next example, example 3. So here again we have parentheses, so we're going to start by doing the same thing. We're going to distribute the parentheses into the first, the negative 3 into the first parentheses, which gives us negative 3k positive 24. And we're going to now distribute this negative sign into the second parentheses. So negative 1k minus 5 equals 23. And again, here's the equal sign, so that's going to separate the left side and the right. So on the left we have all of these numbers here, and on the right we have the 23. Now I want my variables on the left side of the equal sign, so I'm going to keep these two on the left side. So since I'm not moving them, they're going to stay as negative 3k and a negative 1k. Here's my equal sign, and I want my constants, let me highlight them in red, box them in red, to be on the right side of the equal sign. Well, the 23, notice that 23 is already on the right side of the equal sign. So that's going to stay as positive 23. However, the negative 5 needs to be moved to the right side, so that becomes positive 5. And the 24 also needs to be moved to the right side, so that becomes negative 24. And now, by having my variables on the left and my constants on the right, I can now simplify the two sides. So on the left, the negative 3 and the negative 1 is negative 4. And on the right, we end up with positive 4. Positive 4. And now we can divide. And well, let me put this, we're going to divide. So this 4 gets divided by the negative 4, the variable in front of the k, and we get our solution. So k equals negative 1. And there's your answer. Very good. Moving along. Here, we want to do the same thing, but this one is a little bit differently because we're distributing a fraction. So we want to distribute this entire fraction along with the negative into the parentheses. So we'll start by bringing down the 7, and let's multiply this. Now, the way we multiply a fraction with a whole number is by doing the following. We multiply 8 with the 5, which is 40, and then that gets divided by 2. So 8 times 5, like I said, is 40, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So that's going to be negative 20r. And we do the same thing when we multiply by negative 6. Well, negative and a negative, that's going to be positive. And to multiply 6 with 5 over 2, we multiply 6 with 5. So 6 times 5, that's 30. And then 30 gets divided by 2, which is 15. Bring down the 2r, the equal sign, and bring down the 32. So look, there is the equal sign. That's going to separate the left side and the right side. And as before, I want all my variables, let me highlight them all in blue, to be on the left side of that equal sign, which they already are. So negative 20 stays as negative 20. Positive 2 stays as positive 2. Here's my equal sign. And I want my constants, my numbers, I'll underline them in red, to be on the right side. Well, 32 is already on the right side, so that's going to stay as 32. However, 15 needs to be moved to the right side, so that makes it negative 15. And 7 needs to be moved to the right side as well of that equal sign, so that's going to make it and change it from a positive 7 to a negative 7. And now I can combine the left side, the two numbers on the left with the two numbers, and then combine the right side, the three numbers on the right. So here, this gives us negative 18r, and adding 32 with 15 and negative, or 32 minus 15 minus 7, that equals to a total of 10. Now we divide by that negative 18. That answer, that constant of 10 gets divided by the negative 18, and we have our answer. So x equals to negative 10 over 18, which simplifies to negative 5 over 9. So here's your solution. X equals to 5 over 9. All right, let's move on to the next example. Now, for this example, this one's a little bit different from all the other ones because now we have a fraction. In order to solve a equation, a linear equation that's in fraction form, we get rid of the denominator. And the easiest, most convenient way of getting rid of the denominator is to cross multiply. So we're going to multiply this with the negative 45. So we're going to keep the 3 parentheses 5 minus 3x, and cross multiplying 4 with 45 gives us a total of 180, positive 180, since we're multiplying two negative values. Here the negative 4, let me do it in yellow, negative 4 and negative 45, that's going to be a positive 180. And now we follow the other techniques as usual. We're going to distribute this 3 into the parentheses. So we end up with 15 minus 9x equals 180. And then again, variables on the left side. Here's my equal sign. So here's the left side and here's the right side. So I want my variable to be on the left side. So negative 9x is not going to move, so it's going to stay as negative. And I want my constants, which is 180 and 15, to be on the right side. Well, 180 is already on the right side, so that's just simply brought down. But the 15 needs to be moved to the right side of that equal sign, and that's going to change it to a negative 15. So we have a negative 9x on the left side, and 180 subtracted by 15, that's simply 165. That 165 gets divided by negative 9. And that's going to reduce, they have a common factor of 3, so that's going to reduce to the fraction of 55 negative, hold on, let me give myself some space, here we go, negative 55 divided by 3. So there is your answer. The decimal notation is 18.33333 with a repeating 3, but write your answer as a fraction in order to upload it onto Edge Elastic on these type of examples. So that's negative 55 over 3. Okay, moving on to the next example. Well, number 6 is pretty much, again, a repetition of what we've already done. It's simply variables on the left, constants on the right. So with this being my equal sign right there, this is the left side, this is the right side. I just want my variables to be on the left side and my constants to be on the right. Well, since 5 is already on the left side, that's going to stay as positive 5y. However, moving the 3 to the other side changes that positive 3 to negative 3. And then the same thing with the constants. Since 12 is already on the right side of that equal sign, all I have to do now is move the 8 to the other side, making it a positive 8. And now we can combine the two sides. So combining the two blue numbers, we end up with 2y equals, combining the two red numbers, that's 20. And now all that's left to do is to divide that 20 by the 2. So y equals 10. And there's your solution. Move on to example number 7. Here, same situation, letters to the left, variables on the left, numbers on the right. So here's my equal sign. So I want both of these two variables to be on the left side of that green line. The 10 is already there, so that's going to stay as positive. But the 6, since we have to move it to that other side, that changes it from a negative to a positive. And the same thing with the constants. We want these two constants to be on the right side of that equal sign. Well, the 21 is already there, so that's going to stay as positive 21. But since the negative 7 needs to be moved across that equal sign, that's going to change it to from a negative to a positive. Now, combining the terms, we end up with 16a and 28. Now, dividing that 28 by that 16 gives us a decimal value of 1.75. But since I want all of my answers to be in fraction form, I need you to convert that into a fraction. That is 7 over 4, which we can get because 16 doesn't go into the 28. We can see that there is a common factor. There's a common factor of 4. I can divide both of these numbers by 4, and the fraction reduces to 7 over 4. So there is your answer, 7 over 4. Okay, moving on to number 8. Here's my equal sign. So I want these two values, these two, to be on the left side of that equal sign, and my constants to be on the right side. So 7 is already on the left, but positive 3k isn't. So by moving it to this side of that equal sign, that changes it from a positive to a negative. The 36 is already on the right side, so that's going to stay as negative 36, and that doesn't change signs. So combining the two blue numbers, that is 4k. Bringing down the negative 36, I divide that by the 4k, or the 4, I'm sorry. So k equals negative 8. And there's your solution. Okay. Now here we have parentheses on both sides. We still want to do the whole variables on the left, constants on the right, but we have distributions on both sides. So we have to start with that first. Always get rid of the parentheses first. So we end up with 8w minus 2 equals, distributing into the parentheses, we end up with negative 10w plus 30. And do not forget on this example to bring down that plus 4. That plus 4 is still part of the equation there, okay? But we don't multiply it by 10, only what's inside the parentheses, okay? So pay attention to that. I'm only multiplying these two things by the negative 10. So now, since here's my equal sign, I want my variables to be on the left side of that equal sign and my constants to be on the right side of the equal sign. So let's start with the variables. Well, 8 is already on the left side, so we're good with there. However, 10 needs to be moved to the other side, so that's going to change it to a positive 10. Okay, there's my equal sign. And now, I want my constants, my numbers that I've boxed in red, to be on the right side. Well, 30, again, here's my equal sign originally. The 30 and the 4 are already on the right side, so those are not going to change signs. they're going to stay as 30 and positive 4. Sorry, I meant to have those in red. So 30 and positive 4. However, since the 2 also needs to be on that side with the 30 and the 4, having it moved from the across is going to change it from a negative 2 to a positive 2. And now I can combine. So we have 18W, and this is a total of 36. Dividing the 36 by the 18, I'm going to write the answer over here. W equals, well, 36 divided by 18, that's a total of 2. So W equals 2, and there's your solution. And finally, for our last example. So on this last example, again, we have the parentheses on both sides, but notice that our constants are on the other side. So right here, let me put my equal sign right here. Notice that we have 5W. Well, we can't do anything, 5x. We can't do anything with this 5x. We cannot subtract, again, any of this stuff right there because I have to first get rid of the parentheses. So I need to distribute and multiply this negative sign into this parentheses there. So I'm going to bring down the 5x and multiply this negative into x is going to give me negative x. And multiplying that negative with the negative 18, that's positive 18. My equal sign, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. So here, I do not subtract these two numbers. Again, multiplication, distribution takes priority over combining of anything. So here, I have to distribute the negative 2 into the parentheses before anything else. So now, I end up with 6 minus 2x minus 30. And negative, because a negative and a positive is negative, and a negative and then a positive again is negative. So now that I have that, again, look at where my equal sign is. I want to do the same thing as before. I want all my variables, let me highlight them all in blue, to be on the left side of that equal sign right here, of that green line there. And I want all my constants, everything that I'm boxing in red, to be on the right side. So starting with the variables, well, the 5x and the minus 1x are already on the left side of this green line here, okay? So those are going to stay the same signs. However, this negative 5 needs to be moved to that side there. And since I'm going to go across this equal sign, that's going to change the sign. So opposite side, opposite sign. So that becomes a positive 2x. There's my equal sign, and I do the same thing now with my constants. So 6 is going to stay on the right side, so that's going to stay as positive 6. Negative 30 is already on the right side, so that's going to stay as negative 30. However, the 18 needs to be moved across that equal sign, so that's going to change it from a positive 18 to a negative 18. And all we do now is simply combine like terms. So 5 minus 1 plus 2 on the left, that gives us a total of 6x. And on the right side, 6 minus 30 minus 18, that gives us a total of negative 42. So negative 42 in red. So that negative 42 in red is divided by that positive 6 in blue, and we get our solution. So I'll write it here on the side. X equals negative 8. I'm sorry, negative 7. Negative 42 divided by 6 is negative 7, not negative 8. Negative 7. And there you go. So there's your review on how to solve linear equations. So focus again on that key thing, on what I've explained in this video, that we want essentially, again, our variables. I first identify where the equal sign is. understand that we have a left side and right side of that equal sign, and we just simply want the variables on the left and the numbers on the right. Anytime I move something across that equal sign, I just have to change the sign. So opposite side, opposite sign. The only time it doesn't do that, like an example number 5, is because I'm not really moving it. I'm cross multiplying it here. So it's not that I'm moving the -4, it's that I'm cross multiplying it. So after that, when it comes to rearranging, so I could simplify, I do have to change the sign. Okay, and I change all the negatives to positive and positives to negative. Okay, when moving it from the left to the right of that equal sign. So there you have it. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. And I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye, class.